I will just show my screen. Thank you, Neil. Yeah, that's fine. So that was stateful coding on the SAP server. It means that every user will have a session and consume memory. So the device is more like a passive HTML page that you receive the pre-rendered HTML page from the server. With the UI5 framework, this has changed a lot. We actually moved the stateful kind of methodology to the client. You receive the HTML5, the UI5 document from the server, and all the data are sent back and forth to SAP with JSON format. This framework is really good for high volume users. You don't consume any memory if you have stateless coding. Also with the JSON format, a bonus is the high compression rate that you have. So even receiving 50 megabytes of data will be 500K. So that's a very high compression rate. How we designed the UI5 framework with Neptune, we find out that we should mirror the data in the application class to the UI5 models. It means that one internal table in the application class, it's an independent model in the UI5. So that's a model table. And we have a structure in the application class, also a model structure. These are based on the normal UI5 models, so all the methods in the models are available. We connect the data by binding in the Neptune Application Designer. These models are running in memory. I can show one example. This is the application I'm going to go through today. And as you can see on the right side, I can now access the data I have on the client. What we mean about mirroring is if you see the object now, this is a material object. These are the fields that you have in the application class. So you can actually browse through the data on the client, which is similar to the data you have in the application class. What we have done, what we have added in Neptune is a way to use the cache, and that's the local storage and WebSQL. And all this is achievable only by setting the enable cache and the cache type. This way we can have a powerful offline framework with the possibility to store it in the WebSQL database with no extra coding, which means that you can load down a lot of data, and together with the PhoneGap framework you can have like 2 terabytes of data. That's maybe too much. So if I go back and show, if I go to the resources, you can see the WebSQL database that will store the data in the WebSQL database and also in the local storage. So this is the saving of the data that we have. So it's really important to bear in mind that all the models you are working with the model data, these are in memory. So if you change data, update or delete, you need to save it down to the cache. In Neptune there are some pre-made JavaScript functions, but also some objects. The normal one that we use in an online scenario is getOnline, the object name, which will trigger an AJAX call to SAP and get the data online. The getCache will load the data from the cache. These are also settings for it, so setInit load the cache will actually trigger the getCache function. To save a model into the cache, it's only one pre-made function that you can use, the setCache and the object name. That will save the data into the cache. And it will read the customizing, so if you have WebSQL database, it will save it to the WebSQL database. A really important thing is the object, it's called model, and then the object name. This one we will use a lot, where you have the method getData and setData. These are very important in an offline scenario. To be able to work with the models, we have added an offline, we call it model data object, which will consist of easy to use methods. We have the find, so you can search through a model and retrieve an array of objects. You can delete, you can update a field, or you can add. We will use them in this session. So that was the PowerPoint presentation, so let's go to create it. What we are going to create is based on our sales order template that is available from our web page. This is the functionality we are going to create now in this session. We have a synchronize functionality. You can go through search the material. I am offline now. I don't use any calls to SAP. I can see a list of materials. I can click and get the stock quantity of different warehouse. We have the customer search. I can search a customer, get a customer list, click on it, get the details for the customer, have the possibility to create a sales order. In this session we will not take the items part, we will only create an order based on the header and save the order. And of course a possibility to send it to SAP and create an order. So that's the application we are going to create today. So as Noel said, this is the support package 3. So we start creating a new application, transport request. I will use a local object. And to a title description of the object. I'm going to use an application class that is available in the sales order template. I will go through the coding behind it. We select the SAP UI5 framework. We will create with a mobile framework, and new is the offline add-on. This will be an object with some methods that will help you a lot. Selecting theme, the blue crystal. And now we're ready to start coding. What is new in support package 3 is when I add an object to my HTML5 document, I will automatically get a name for it. The name will be unique. So let's start by creating the start page. I will have some tiles, so I will set enable scrolling to false because I would like to use a tile container, and I will create a tile for the material search. When I press this, I will navigate to material search page. It's not created yet, but it will be. Just take an icon on it, title, material. Now let's create the next page. That's a material search page. I will bind the search page to a pre-made structure. These are all the public attributes that we're going to use. I will go through the application class when I come to the synchronization. So I will use the material search structure. I need to create a footer so I can use back navigation. Take the position to the footer to create a bar content. This will be on the left side, and a button to navigate back. When I press it, I will navigate back again, just using the app and back. App is the name of the app from SAP.m. And navigate back. We will have a form, a selection screen that you can search for the materials. I use the simple form. Give it a title. And since I have bound the parent, or I could bind the form, I can use the wizard. So I can actually read the structure I have bound and get all the content of it. I will delete the objects I don't need. As you can see now, I'm deleting without any pop-up, and that's some settings you can do. There is no message on delete objects. When I use the wizard, all the text, the description will be automatically set, and all the binding will also be done. For the next page, the material list. Now I will copy the footer because I also need a footer on every page. As you can see, if I have a syntax check now, you will see I have duplicate name. Easy way of changing it is using search and replace. So now you will see it's not duplicate anymore. On the material list, we will use a table. A table we will bind to a pre-made internal table that will consist the data of the materials. I will not put any Ajax ID, that will be in the synchronization part. I can right-click, use the wizard again, and we're going to display all the fields. I get all the column, I get the column list item with the event handler and the fields. And just delete some of the fields I don't need. So we now have the table with a material. I will create a synchronization part so I can get the data. I will use an Ajax component. Ajax component is, you don't bind that to a model, it's going to use all the other models that's available. I put in a Ajax ID for sync. When I do the synchronization, something happens in the application class. So let me take a view into the application class. We use the handler on Ajax in the UI5 environment. The methods we are going to use in this session is the sync method and the save method. If I go into the sync method, this method will get all the data. So we have getting the customer data. In this scenario, I have optimized the search, so it will be very fast and I will get only the data that I require in my application. Still, this is normal ABAP selects and just building up the internal table with the data I require. And the same for material. Also some pricing, and also the stocks. I call it get customizing. That's getting all the drop down, the select, like shipping condition, Incoterms, sales organization, and so on. So each time I do the synchronization, this code will run. So I will trigger the Ajax ID with sync. I always like to use the busy indicator to show the user that we're actually getting some data. It requires that when I retrieve the data, I need to set the busy indicator to false. To trigger the sync, I will use the tile, using a standard tile. Synchronize. When I press it, first of all, I will start the busy indicator. And then using the pre-made function from Neptune to get online, and then a component name which is sync. When I do the synchronization, and we're going to go into this part several times during the creation of the application, it's the additional model send and receive. When I press the synchronization, I will receive the tab material data. We will add more components as we go in this session. I'm almost ready to have the first preview. I just need to add a button so I can navigate from the search page to the list page. Place that right. We start by just navigating material list, search, and we can also add a text for it, search. Let's look on the preview. This is my preferred setting, so I will use that for a session. When I do the synchronization, you can go to network and see that I have received the material data. So I can go to the material. This is the search page. I can click on the search. As you know, I haven't implemented the search functionality at the moment. I will. But one thing that is very important, if I refresh my application, you will see that I don't have any data. It means the models are running in memory, so we haven't enabled the cache, which is fairly important in an offline scenario. So I go to the tab material, I go to the cache type. I'm using WebSQL to have large data set. I'm enabling the cache, and when I start my application, the tab material will fetch the data from the database instantly. So I will do the same again. I will start the application, I will do the synchronization. Then I can see I have the data, and starting the application again, go to the material, you can see I still have the data. Okay, let's implement. When I click on the item, I will get the stock content from different warehouse. I will just add, this is going to be a hidden page where I can have components. I'm not going to be part of the UI. I'm going to have a container for the stock. This container I will put in the WebSQL database, enable cache, and start with cache. I bind it to the pre-made structure. This will also be fetched when I press the sync. So this is the stock. And I must remember to go to the sync and add it data stock so I can receive that data also. To display the data in the different warehouse, I will use a table select dialog. It's going to be bind to the same structure. This is going to be on the fly. So when we press the button, I will search through the stock. That's about 8,200 entries at the moment. And I will display that into the table stock. Using the wizard to display the data, I don't need to display the material number. This is a structure of the stock. To implement the event handler, when I click on it, I need to go to the column list item, go to attribute. First of all, we need to enable the type to be navigation or active. And now, when I click on it, as I said, I would like to get data from the data stock into the table stock and present it. So I'm using the JavaScript helpers. So first of all, I would like to get the selected row I'm having. The context is the working area of the item I'm clicking on, or the row. I'm interested to having the material number, so I know which material I have clicked on. Now we're going to use the model data find, and that's find in the offline JavaScript helper and model find. This should be well documented. Well, I will explain it now. I'm declaring this is going to be an array. I'm using the offline object called model data, using the method find, and I'm going to find data from the data stock, and I'm going to use the material number as the key field, and the value is from when I'm getting the context and the material number. Value. The data is now an array. So I have an object called model tab stock. All objects that has bound will have an object called model and the object name. Now I can use the method set data with the found data from the data stock. And I want to open the dialog. Tab stock open. So to explain it, I'm getting the context to get the material number. I'm searching through a table with 8,000 entries to get the correct material number. And then I'm switching the data set to the table select dialog, and then I open it. So let's see if everything is okay. What's new in support package 3 is a split screen functionality. So you can have the preview on the right side. Since I added the data stock in the sync part, I needed to do the synchronization again to get the data. I still haven't implemented the search, but I will. So when I click on the material, you can see the dialog popping up with content from the other warehouses. I will implement the search. So let's go to the search button. This is where I implement it. This is where the action is happening. So I click on the JavaScript editor. And on the next page, the material list, it's displaying all materials. So what we're going to do is using an UI5 filter. I need to change to my list, that's tab material. I'm going to do a filter on the description, that's the description field. I'm not going to use equal, I'm going to use the contains. And now I'm going to use, I will just show it. going to use the value from the UI5 field directly. So the content is in form. That's the UI5 object, and the method get value. As you can see, the most of the coding we do with Neptune and offline scenario is calling UI5 methods and Neptune methods. So let's remove that, and we apply the filter in format search get value. So I will activate. So I go to the material, and you can see I'm searching through the material with the right description. One more thing, very important, is to keep the data set as small as possible. So for instance, if you would like to display the warehouse name, it doesn't make sense to have the name in all the 8,000 or 100,000 records. It's better to have a supporting table with the data, and you can do a lookup functionality. So I will show you how to implement that. I'm using a table as a container again. Call it data plant. Of course, this will be in the WebSQL, true, and cache. I'm binding it to the plant. That only consists of the plant and the plant name. And I need to go to the sync and add it. When I do the synchronization, I will also get the plant. So now we have the data, and I would like to use the name when I'm displaying the plant in the table select dialog. To do that, we have the formatter, which is a very powerful functionality from the UI5. Click on the JavaScript editor. What I'm going to do is using the model data, and using the find, and I'm going to search into the data plant. The key field is the plant, and in the formatter, this is the value. Now this will retrieve an array, but I'm actually expecting only one hit, so it will be the index number, the first one in the row. And now I can access the name one directly, and I can return it. So let's look on that. Go to the material, do a search. And now the arrow exists between keyboard and chair, so I just need to go through that again. I will just use the Chrome so I can see the errors. Yeah, now it's working. And now we can see plant name instead of the number of the plant. So everything we do, even if I refresh the application, everything still resides on the device. This is offline functionality. So that was the material. I will do the same with the customer. So it's going to be a repetition of what we already have done. I will create a tile for it. Tile customer. When I press on it, I will navigate to page, making the same functionality with a search page. Customer search. I'm binding that to pre-made structure, which is the customer search. I'm using the simple form to be a container for the select field. Selection. The editable is just a layout setting, so we align the label to the input fields. Right click using the wizard again. In this case, I'm just going to use the name. I can copy the footer from the material search and to the customer search, and using the replace. Now it's ready, and we will create the next page, which is the customer list. Customer list. And I will just copy the footer again. And deleting the search button, so it's only be the navigation again. Adding the customer table, the customer, it's going to be offline to enable the cache and start with cache. I'm binding it to the customer. These are the fields in the customer table, and to add it to the sync. So in an offline scenario, you will have one sync component that will receive all the data that you're going to use. On the table, I will use the wizard again to insert the fields. Just remove what I don't want to display. And now we can do the implementation of the search. I did a copy of, I just need to give it a unique name. And on the attribute, we have the search. And since I copied it, this is for the material, so we will just change it to the correct. It's the customer at the moment. This time I'm using name 1. And the field is that's the name of the component in simple form name 1. And that's getting the value from the field. And then go to the customer list. Okay. Just to add some numbers on the tiles, I have a structure that is the start page, which consists on the synchronization time and the number of stocks and customer material. So I go to the tile, and the number, I can just bind it to count customer, and on the material we can bind that to the material. And if you would like to keep that page when you start the application, you need to set the cache again. And we can activate. So when I do the synchronization, getting the data from SAP, well, this is a good example of if I go to the synchronization button, I need to send all the data. So page start, I will need to receive. And activate again. So doing the synchronization now, I will get the counter on the material and the counter on the customer. So let's see if I have done everything right. should be a search, and that is working. So far we have the material, we have the stock, and we have the customer list. Now I would like to go to a detail page so we can see the detail without fetching the data from the server, all offline. So that's going to be a detail page, customer detail. I'm binding it again. Now I'm using the work area of the customer. As you can see, the work area and the internal table, these are the same format. So it's more like you will do in ABAP coding, where you have loop into and read into. I'm copying the footer again. Just to having unique names on it. We will add a form, simple form again. And this time I will use the wizard for display data. So now I have all the data in a simple form. So when I do a navigation from the customer list, I need to fill the context into the model of the page customer detail. So on the column list item, we need to enable the navigation type. When I do the press event, you can right click, use the JavaScript helper. We are on the list table, so get selected row offline. The same again, I'm getting the context from the table, and now this is how I update the model. That's the page cust detail. Still, that's the component name, and this is the object, the model object. And now I'm using set data. This is a bit strange, but this is to decouple the context, so when you do some changes, it will not automatically happen. So just use it as it is from the JavaScript helper. And then navigate to page cust detail. Let's check if it's working. Now you can see the details of a customer. So if I select another one, it will change. Now let's implement the order table that we're going to create when we are in offline mode. I will also make the page a bit nicer, so I'm going to use an icon tab bar. It's not going to be expandable, and using a filter. That's the order container. Address. So I'm putting the simple form as a child to the icon tab bar filter. And now for the order content, still going to use a table as a child to that filter. Tab order. The order will of course also be a part of the caching functionality to enable the cache. This is not going to be something that we synchronize. The entries in the tab order will be created from the device. I will use the order header. The order header has these fields in it, so I will bind it. And I will display the data using the wizard. There's a lot of data in it, so I will delete some of them. That should be enough. So this will be a list for the orders to the customer. So we need a new page, which is the order creation page. Page order. In this webinar, we will only save an order with the order header and not the items. Page order, I will bind it to the structure of the order header. I will just copy the footer again. So we can navigate back. I'm using the simple form and using the wizard to get all the fields. I will also delete some of them that we don't need. Yeah, and also we like to display the document number, because in an offline scenario you also need a unique key, so you can use the model data. You can make that to enable to false, so you can't edit the key filter. We'll just display the application before we go on. I have the customer doing the search. You can click on a customer, and now you have the address and the order. So now I need to create a button that I can click on to start editing an order. I will use a toolbar, and a toolbar is going to be a header toolbar for the table. I would like my button to be on the right side, so I'm using a spacer, and then I will add a button. That's the create button. So when I click on this button, we will create the data in the page order. So go to the press event. First of all, I would like to get the data on the customer page. So now I'm using the model object, page cust detail get data. And I really like to use the model get data instead of accessing the SAPUI5 fields directly. It means now I can access all the fields that we have in the application class directly with the data cust object. I will declare an empty record, and this is how we create an object, and this is the JavaScript part, and now we continue with the methods. I need to create a unique ID for the document number, so I'm using model data method called generate ID. That's just a unique UID. And the order I'm creating is going to belong to this customer, data cust, customer number. And I can set one default. This is the shipping terms. I'm just using 02 the standard. So now I have an object that I will set these data into the page order. So then we access the model object, page order, using set data, and then data order, the new object that we just created. And then navigate to page order. Let's activate and check it. So go to the customer, search everything, click on the customer list. Now I have create order button, and as you can see, I'm navigating to the order header where I have the document number, your reference, delivery date, the shipping condition, and the Incoterms. Just make it a bit more aligned. True. Let's create this save button. So in the footer of the order, I'm creating a new button to the right. And that's the save button. Save and save. And now how to implement the saving. Go to the press event on the save button. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get all the data from the page. So I'm going to use the model object again. That's get data. It means that all changes I have done is included in this object. And I'm going to use the update, so SAPUI5 offline, and then you have the update method. I will explain this. Using the model data object with the method update, and the object I'm going to update is the tab order. This is where we store all the orders for the customers. The unique field is the document number. The document number I have is data order, which I just received from the get data, and the document number again. And the new data is going to be data order. Now this will only change the memory data of the models. So what I need to do is using the set cache functionality and set cache on the tab order. The tab order, this is the object. Set cache tab order, and now I will put the data from the model into the cache, and this is the WebSQL database that we have set. And then we can navigate back again. So it's one sentence to get the changed data, one sentence to update the table, one sentence to save it into the cache. So this is not much coding. And activate, and let's try it. Customer, search, into the detail, creating an order, and when we do the saving, we have the order in the table. And we can create a new one. Now I will also implement, when I click on an order item, I will go into change mode. So that's implemented on the order table. Go to the column list item where is the event handler, setting the type to navigation, and then on the press event, as you can see, I'm using a lot of the JavaScript helpers. So you should find almost every functionality or methods in there. I'm on the list, so get select row offline again. We're getting the context, and I'm going to update model page order with the row I just selected. And then up to page order. So let's do it again. Go to the customer where I have two orders. I can go click on an order line. I can do some changes. And when I do the save, it will update again. And the model data update method is really powerful. It will both add and modify the content in the table. Let's implement a delete. I'm just lazy, so I'm copying the save button. need to change the icon. It's not this very hard for the user to understand. So delete. I have copied everything, so I already have some coding. I'm going to use the same. In this case, I'm not going to use the update, but delete method. I'm going to delete in the table for the orders with the key field, and this is the value, and this part we don't need. When I have delete data in the model, I also need to save it into the cache, and then navigate back again. So let's go again into the customer. This order I would like to delete, and now it's removed again. Let's create a new one. Okay, now we have an order that we will send back to SAP. It's not going to be a perfect order, I know, since it doesn't have any items, but this is to get the total flow of it. So let's implement a save functionality. And yeah, I will implement the button just on the detail of the customer. So implementing a new button. Can place that in the middle. Let's save, it's send. We're going to send the data. Send to SAP. We need a handler to, like we did with the sync. I'm creating a new one that we call send. I'm implementing not app, not navigation, but set busy to false. And let's check the application class again. In the handle on Ajax, we have now used the sync method for the synchronization. And now we need to put the Ajax ID save. And in the save, this is a complete functionality that works with the BAPI sales order create from that. So it will loop through all the order header and then to the order items with the same document number, then create all the sales orders. One important thing is what about the error handling? And I'm using the BAPI return from the BAPI. I'm deleting all the successful messages because I'm only going to use and show the error message, and I have an internal table for that. So let's use that in our application. I will use a list, and I'm binding that to the message. If there are no error messages, I don't want to have the no data. None. And using a standard list item, which I find is very fit for this functionality, binding the info. I'm using the message field in the BAPI return structure. And I'm putting the info state to error. Now when I press the send, I will just have the Ajax ID. What I'm going to do is have the tab order. This is the orders that I have created. I would like to send that to SAP, and I will receive it again. Because the way I will handle it now is that orders that have been created are deleted from the tab order. Orders with error will stay, and you will have an error message. I will also retrieve the messages from SAP receive. So let's take the flow. I have the send button. I need to get online send, but I will also have the busy indicator, the true, and then sending the data to SAP, processing it, create sales order, and retrieve the data back again. So, right. I will trigger one with error, so just using the Incoterms. And sending now. Hopefully this would work pretty good. If everything is okay, it should be one order again. And clicking on that order, you can also see the error messages from SAP. So that means that the user will fix it and can send the order into SAP again. If I go into SAP, and we have defaulted the sales organization and distribution channel, you will now see an order that just been created to that customer. So that was the complete solution to create a sales order offline. We have done this with the template. We also had in the warehouse stock, we had 1 million records and still it's the same performance. So this is very cool. And it can be downloaded from our web page, so you can test the template yourself. So all the coding that I just showed will be in that sales order, and the password is NAD with large capitals. So we managed to go through. We created a totally offline application, creating sales order into SAP with error handling, and that was less than 1 hour. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Ola. That was great. I had a few questions. One of the questions was about when to use the local storage and when to use the web database, and the answer to that is basically the size that you need. We also have some customers that are using a plugin from PhoneGap, which gives you up to 2 terabytes. Normally that is only needed if you want to have images stored locally. The storage of the web database is normally sufficient. Yes, if you have any other questions, you can just email them to us, and we will get back on those questions. And I hope it was useful for you. There's a new trend in the market. Before it was mobile first, and now a lot of the developers are talking about offline first, which means that you should consider offline capabilities. And that, of course, depends on where on the globe you are, if the end users have connectivity or not, etc. But it's anyway a fairly easy way, and the performance is incredible on this offline solution from Neptune. So if the customer has need of offline, you should now be able to create an offline application. The last Thursday we did a video which you can also find on our page on the news, and we also recorded this session, so we will inform you when the video is ready, and then you can also look through what Ola just went through today. So thank you very much, and we're sorry about it being Ascension Day today. We're in Neptune, we don't always keep track of holidays. So thanks to all of you for participating. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.